Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Well, we're going to start in about a minute, but just public service announcements. Exits are right there, and I've been asked to tell you where the safe rooms are, so the bathrooms, they actually padlock from the inside. All right, here we go. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Welcome to Temple Ahavat Shalom. It's great to have all of you joining us, either here in the sanctuary or at home. Shalom, hello to all of you, and thank you for tuning in. I'm Rabbi Matt Berger. I'm joined on the bima with our soloist, Allison Rosoff, and down at the piano, Joy Katzen-Guthrie. And we're back. The trifecta is back. We've been, last week I was leading alone, the week before Rabbi Klein was leading alone, and now all of us are back, the full complement. So feel free, either using the screen in front of you or in your prayer books. If you turn to page 10, you'll find our opening song, the words of Psalm 133, the first verse, Hine ma tov, how good it is to be together.
Hine ma tovu manai, shevet achim gam yachad. 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 Hine ma tovu manai, shevet achim gam yachad.
You'll find the blessing for lighting the Shabbat candles on 2, and we'll sing Debbie Friedman's Light These Lights.
Oh, hear my prayer, I sing to you. Be gracious to the ones I love, and bless them with goodness and mercy and peace. Oh, hear my prayer to you. Let us light these lights and see the way to you, and let us say Amen. Let us light these lights and see the way to you, and let us say Amen.
There you go.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Blessed are you, God, for the commandment to light the Shabbos candles. I'd like to share with you a poem written for this week's Torah portion, bo meaning go, so it actually rhymes. Everyone who lived in that narrow place, says the poet Rachel Barenblatt, everyone who lived in that narrow place was in darkness, but those who wrestled with God, they found light. The light which spilled forth at Moses' birth, when his parents Amram and Yocheved's house shone like a signal fire on a mountaintop. The light that would cling to Moses as he descended from the presence at Sinai, the first light which shone before the sun. The white fire on which the words of Torah are scribed, bright spaces even holier than the letters, all filled with possibility. The eternal light which burns even now in every sanctuary, light bulb and lantern standing in for God, for hope and for redemption. The narrow place, Egypt, was confined in fog, but God's presence was a beacon for Israel. And we all carry that light in our cupped palms. Going to continue with the words of Yismechu. It's on page 13. This is one of the Kabbalat Shabbat Psalms. This one in particular, Psalm 96. Let the heavens rejoice, Yismechu Hashemayim. Yamamai, mai, mamai, yamamai, mai, mamai, yamamai, mai, 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 mai. Yamamai, mai, mamai, yamamai, mai, mamai, yamamai, mai, mamai, mai, 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 mai. Yismechu Hashemayim, V'tagel haaretz, Yiram hayam, Umilo. Yismechu Hashemayim, V'tagel haaretz, Yiram hayam, Umilo. Yamamai, mai, mamai, yamamai, mai, mamai, yamamai, mai, mamai, mai, 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 mai. Yamamai, mai, mamai, mamai, mai, mamai, yamamai, mai, mamai, mai, 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 mai. Yismechu Hashemayim, V'tagel haaretz, Yiram hayam, Umilo. Yismechu Hashemayim, V'tagel haaretz, Yiram hayam, Umilo. Yamamai, mai, mamai, yamamai, mai, mamai, yamamai, mai, 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 mai. Yamamai, mai, mamai, yamamai, mai, mamai, yamamai, mai, mamai, mai, 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 mai. Yismechu Hashemayim, V'tagel haaretz, Umelo. Let's continue making our way towards Shema and its blessings by chanting the half Kaddish, the Chatzi Kaddish on page 26.
Yitkadav, Yitkadash me Rabba.
Amen.
B'mari rachute v'yamlich machute. B'chayechon uvyomechon. Uv'chayed kol beit Yisrael. Bagala, bagala. Uvizman kariv. V'imaru. Amen. Yishmei Rabba mevarach, ve'alam ulal mehamaya, yitbarach, yitbarach, v'yishtabach, v'yipa'ar, v'yiroman, v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar, v'yitale, v'yithalal, shemei dekudesha brichu, le'elam in kol berchata v'shirata,
Tushbechata v'nechemata, damiran b'yalma.
V'imaru. Amen.
Let's rise for the call to prayer, the Baruch. Adonai Amevorach Leolam Vaed. Yai lai lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai lai. Let's continue now with the Mariv Arvim, a prayer for the evening on 31. Feel free to join me. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator of the tide of time and light, you guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai, Hama'ariv Aravim. And a prayer of love, Ahavat Olam, on 33. Wisdom and wonder, passion and instruction, story and symbol. All these things your Torah gives to us. The more we devote ourselves to it, the more it grows and gives. What could be a truer token of your abiding love than this holiest of your works in the living language that gives it form? Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. Let's open up our eyes as we prepare to sing that God is one. Open up our eyes, teach us how to live. Fill our hearts with joy and all the love you have to give. Gather us in peace as you lead us to your name, and we will know that you
Teach us how to live.
Teach us how to live.
Fill our hearts with joy and all the love you have. Gather us in peace as you lead us to your name, and we will know that you are one. And we will know that you are one. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Feel free to be seated, and we'll continue chanting the words of the Shema. Shall love Adonai your God with all your heart, all your mind, and all your soul. Page 36. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha v'chol levavcha v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol me'odecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'eleh asher anochi mitzavcha hayom alevavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'veitecha uvlechtecha v'derech ushokpecha uvkumecha ukshartam le'ot ayadecha v'hayu letotafot bein einecha uktavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha leman tizkeru vasitem et kol mitzvotai v'tem kedoshim le'Elohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'aretz Mitzrayim liot lachem le'Elohim ani Adonai Elohechem. So in the Torah, we're getting pretty close to the Israelites crossing the Red Sea, and this reading on 39 kind of whets our appetite for that moment. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we are taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, and that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness. There is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together. Find Mi Chamocha, Who is Like You, on page 40. Nedar bakol
Thus it is said, Adonai redeemed Jacob, our patriarch, from a hand stronger than his own. Praised are you, Adonai, for redeeming Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, Ga'al Yisrael. You'll find our words of shelter and our prayer of protection, Hashkivenu, on page 42.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Lishalom Ve'amideinu Shomreinu Lechaim Hashkivenu
Blessed are you, Adonai, guardian of Israel, whose shelter of peace is spread over us, over all your people Israel, and over Jerusalem. Let's rise now for our standing prayers, the Tefillah, which begin on page 46, and will continue on even pages.
Adonai sifatai tiftachu fi agita hilatecha. Eternal God, open my lips that my mouth may declare your glory. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Ve'Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor V'Hanora El Elyon Gomer Chasadim Tovim Ve'gonei Yaakov וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל, אתה רב להושיע, משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מחלל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה לחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי הכל.
אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יעלו חסד. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש. Feel free to be seated. And we'll continue with the blessings in the middle called the Emsaot. First, for the holiness and sanctity of Shabbat, Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat, a prayer asking that God's presence will always reside with us, whether here or in Zion and Israel. Baruch atah Adonai HaMachazir Shekinato L'Tzion. And a prayer of gratitude and thanks. Baruch atah Adonai Hatov Shimcha U'cha Na'eh Lechodot. And our final prayer of the tefillah is always for shalom, for peace, on page 60. Grant abundant peace to Israel, your people, forever, for you're the sovereign God of all peace. May it be pleasing to you to bless your people Israel in every season and moment with your peace. Blessed are you, Adonai, who blesses your people Israel, as well as the entire world with peace. Baruch atah Adonai, Barech et amo Yisrael, Bashalom. And for our silent prayer, and during that, along with your thoughts and reflections and personal prayer, Allison will be leading us in Shalom Rav.
Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam.
Let's continue now with a prayer for healing and well-being. You'll find the words to Misha Berach on the screen before you and in the prayer book on page 253. So we call to mind and to heart people in need of health and strength and courage. We think of, especially on this Shabbat, all those who are suffering due to the pandemic and having COVID. We also add to these names Yonatan Reuven Ben Rivka, Charlie Burke, Lisa Cargile, Elise Cohen, Manuel Cruz, Eddie Deerfield, Evelyn Edelman, Rob Edelman, Heather Felser, Brad Fischelow, Sue Fischelow, Harry Fleisch, Denise Freifeld, Mitchell Freifeld, Jerry Gottlieb, Leah Gottlieb, Rick Kornspan, Arthur Maller, Ed Marks, Bob Masarski, Aaron McHugh, Arnold Miller, William Miller, Stephanie Ross, Phyllis Schachter, Cyril Shagrin, Arlene Charlotte, and Jeff Stark. Are there any other names to add? Please.
My father, George Stark.
Avotenu mikor habracha limotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Misheberach imotenu mikor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
Usually when I get home from the temple, whether it's just for a quick bite of dinner before turning around and coming back here for an evening program, or whether I'm staying at home for the entire evening, there's a routine. I walk in the door from the garage, and inevitably on the left I see my daughter Maytal lying down on the couch with an iPad in her hands and the earphones in her ears. My wife Ida's usually in our home office or in the kitchen. And as for my son Avi, well, he can be just about anywhere in the house. But no matter what, at some point, Avi will walk up to me and say, "Abba, Dad, we need to have a talk." Sometimes this happens right when I get in the door, before I can even change. Other times it might be later in the evening, but it always happens. I never know quite what to expect with these conversations. To be honest, sometimes it feels like I'm being called into the principal's office without ever knowing the reason why. But most of the time, and especially in the last few months, the subject of the talk is the pandemic. I'm quite sure that many of you have very similar conversations at home. Now, Avi, like many kids, he wants to know when we'll be done once and for all with all the wearing masks. And more than that, he wants an exact date of when the pandemic will be finally over.
So I listened to him. Of course, I can't give him an answer regarding the final date, but I try and share the important point that there's probably not a single human being on earth who actually likes wearing a mask, myself included. But we wear a mask nonetheless because it's important for our health and the health of those around us, just like I say at the end of every Shabbat service. As for the other question, no one has an answer, of course, which is frustrating for Avi, as it is for you and me. The fact of the matter is we live in a world with a tremendous amount of uncertainty and the ever-present reality of change. Ben Franklin, one of our founding fathers and a great inventor, he invented, among other things, bifocals, swimming paddles, and the lightning rods. He once said, when you're finished changing, you're finished. I like this adage, not only because it's short and sweet, but also because there's some wisdom in it. The pandemic is a constant daily reminder of the importance of how we need to be adaptable in life. Our ability to embrace change with openness as well as creativity. It's one of the most important skills we can acquire in life because the winds of change, as we know, are always in motion. One of the best ways we can learn how to manage change, Jewish tradition teaches us, is by going back to the holy books to see how earlier generations faced challenges of their own. And there's no better story about dealing with change than the Exodus from Egypt. This week's rhyming Torah portion, bo meaning go, gives us a great ringside seat right in the middle of the action. Things were looking pretty bleak for the Israelites as slaves to Pharaoh. They worked endlessly. The taskmasters were always looking over their shoulders. So life was very difficult. There was a fixed, regular routine, and the Israelites didn't need to make a whole lot of decisions because they were just told what to do. So the news that Moses was standing up to the Pharaoh saying, "Let my people go," that probably took the Israelites by surprise. Even the possibility that they would be freed was a sea change. The transition from freedom to slavery would certainly bring an enormous amount of opportunities, along with new responsibilities and many challenges. When Moses first told the Pharaoh, "Let my people go," the premise was that the Israelites would just go for a few days out in the wilderness to worship God. In reality, even Moses didn't know what they were going to do once the people were free. There weren't any synagogues to pray at. There were no prayer books to read. They didn't even receive the Torah until about 12 weeks afterwards. All Moses knew was that God wanted the Israelites to go on the road to freedom. Once they started traveling as a free people, the Israelites would need to learn what to do as they went along. There would be great doubt and uncertainty, for sure, but they would be given the precious gift of responsibility, the ability to choose between right and wrong, the ability to find their own direction, and the ability to live with their own decisions, something they couldn't do before. Up until this point in the Torah, all the stories were primarily about individuals and families, the earliest generations of humankind, the chronicles of the patriarchs and matriarchs who believed in one God. Back then, there wasn't any people of Israel, just clans. But here in the book of Exodus, we band together as a nation. And ironically, it's the Pharaoh himself who was the first person to mark this as a transition. Pharaoh, as we know, was super concerned about the multitude of Jews living in its midst, and he was scared that they would one day rebel. So he called our biblical ancestors the following: B'nai Yisrael. It's the first we hear of it. Literally, the children or the people of Israel. Just like children we grow over time. Little by little, decision by decision, we become adolescents, like my son Avi is right now. Over time, children and young adults, they're given more responsibility as they earn people's trust. At a certain point, they become adults, ready to face the challenges and opportunities of life. Pharaoh, as we've learned, has a pretty hard time letting go. After experiencing many plagues alongside the Egyptians, he stubbornly refused to change. In fact, God even controlled his mind and made him stubborn, at least for a few times. Pharaoh even sent his army after the Israelites once they were freed and agreed to let the people go. Change is very hard to deal with. It was hard for Pharaoh, and it's hard for us. Pharaoh wasn't the best at managing it. But contrast this to the leadership of Moses. Moses also faced a lot of setbacks. He was separated from his family at birth. As an adult, right after God told him to leave the Israelites and go to Pharaoh, Moses was not even convinced his own people would listen to him. After Pharaoh rejects Moses' demand to let the people free in the wilderness, life became even harder for Bnei Israel, the children of Israel. And the people eventually did turn on Moses and Aaron, saying, "May God look on both of you and judge you. You have made us obnoxious to Pharaoh and his officials. Now they've put a sword in their hand to kill us." Pretty strong words. Time and again, God needed to reassure Moses, telling Moses that he was actually capable of leading the Israelites and that he was capable of managing the people's transition from slavery to freedom. Many great leaders, like Moses, faced similar setbacks. Take Abraham Lincoln. Before he was successfully elected twice to the presidency, he had a very long road to the White House. He may well be the greatest example of persistence in our country's history. When he was young, his family was forced out of their own home. His mother died less than 2 years later. He failed in business on multiple occasions. Once it took him 17 years to pay off a debt of a failed enterprise. He lost no less than 6 elections, ranging from the state legislature to Congress, even the vice presidency. He didn't even receive 100 votes for that one. The enduring message we can take from this is that everyone, from politicians to community leaders, from parents to children, all of us face setbacks. It's hard to adapt to change. But in these very moments, that's when our character is tested, as is our ability to overcome disappointment. Today, the pandemic continues to test our character. It tests our children, it tests our grandchildren, and it tests all of us who desperately want to go forward, moving from strength to strength. Earlier this week, I learned that the late Rabbi Sir Jonathan Sacks, he kept a quote on his desk. And it was a quote from our 30th president, Calvin Coolidge. And here's the quote: "Nothing in the world can take the place of persistence. Talent will not, as nothing is more common than unsuccessful people with talent. Genius will not, as unrewarded genius is almost a proverb. Education will not, as the world is full of educated derelicts. It's persistence and determination alone that are omnipotent." God never lost faith in Moses when Moses doubted his ability. And God never loses faith in us, even when we're struggling to do the best we can during these challenging times. The important thing is that we need to keep going. We need to persist. We need to adapt.
because many times the road to light and freedom is filled with valleys that test and challenge us. Shabbat Shalom. You'll find the words to Aleinu, the Adoration, on page 282. Let's rise as the ark is opened.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הרצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגור עלינו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני נלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר בהי אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו
To be seated. You'll find the words to Kaddish Tome, the Mourner's Kaddish, on page 294. So we think of families in the period of Shloshim, first 30 days of mourning. So we remember Telo Bagash, father of our own Gimme Bagash. In our community, we mark the recent passing of Peggy Gerson, former temple member and longtime educator in the area. And we note the recent deaths of Richard Baker, father of Ellen Weiss, and Phyllis Allman, mother of Eve Goldstein. To these names, we mark and add the yahrzeit, the anniversary of passing of loved ones. On this Shabbat, we remember the following individuals: Harold Aaron, Dorothy Altman, David Bauer, Murray Becker, Ruth Beckman, Ruth Berkowitz, Lena Bierman, Jean Birnbaum, Rose Block, Ann Cohen, Bert Den Brugine, Sally Epstein, Benjamin Edelman, Michael Favre, Mary Fine, Aaron Flatzbaum, Florence Halpern, Judy Gale Hamrell, Richard Harding Sr., Rebecca Hirschman, Andrew Holloway, Arlen Hutt, Harry Hutton, Louis Kander, Paul Kelton, Logan Kushner, Louis Lang, Lisa Levy, Alan Lieberman, Arthur Lieberman, Charles Lowe, Tess Ann Malkinson, Estelle Marks, Nathan E. Miller, Betty Alice Mundell, Mary Newman, Kevin Raffaelli, Jay Rosoff, Vivian Schneider, Ruth Silverman, Adele Tobe, Jacob Tobe, Shirley Tobe, Nathan Wassoff, Henry Weiner, Anna Weiss, Saul Werboff, Jerome Wint, and Louis Young. Are there any of the names to add for yahrzeit on this evening? We say Zichronam Livracha. Oh, please. Thank you. We say Zichronam Livracha. May the memories of all of these good people continue to be a blessing in their loved ones' lives as we rise to offer the words of Kaddish praise together. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, bi'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, b'agalav v'zman kariv imru amen. Yehei Shmei Rabba Mivarach Le'olam Ulamei Almaya. Yitbarach v'yishabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal Shemei Dekudasha B'richu Le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata Da'amiran v'yalma v'imru Amen. Yehei Shlama Rabba min Shemaya v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Oseh Shalom b'mromav hu yaseh Shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. May the one who causes peace in the heavens cause peace to descend on us, Israel, and the world, as we say, Amen.
V'miru, 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 Amen. V'miru, 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 Amen.
Feel free to be seated. You'll find the words to the Shabbat Kiddush, blessing over the fruit of the vine, on page 5. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei b'riah gafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho v'avavu v'ratzon hinhilanu zikaron lema'aseh b'reshit ki hu yom tekilah l'mikra'e kodesh zecher l'tziat Mitzrayim Givanu Bacharta V'yotanu Kidashta Mikol Hamim V'shabbat Kodshecha V'ava Uvratzon Kaltanu Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat. L'chaim, to life. Lechem min haaretz, we give thanks to God for bread. Our voices rise in song together as our joyful prayer is said. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. See what our closing song is going to be, keeping with the theme of Exodus. Before then, a few brief announcements. Thank you to Allison and Joy, as always, for their beautiful music. Our tech crew in the back, which today comprises Saul Tave and Brad Wexler. Toda rabah, thank you. We've got 2 great services coming up, both with different styles of music than you heard this evening. Next Friday, January 14th, join us for a Shabbat Live full band service with music from Carole King and James Taylor. So we're going to play songs from James Taylor and Carole King, and we're going to bring it into the Shabbat prayer. So hopefully you'll join us for that, and we already have a sponsor
for that as well. So thank you, Norma Van Ness. The next Friday, we will have an intergenerational youth Shabbat service. That'll start at 7 p.m., and that'll be led by members of our youth group, middle school and high school. A little bit before then, on Saturday, January 15th, our first Shabbat morning minyan at 9 a.m. here in probably a year and a half, and that'll be co-led by Dr. Ron Gilbert and myself, and we'll be right here on the Bima. Great for individuals and families who are preparing for bar and bat mitzvah services and celebration. And starting on Tuesday, January 18th for 3 Tuesdays at noon, I'll be leading an adult ed series on Kabbalah, on Jewish mysticism. And right after our closing song and prayer for health, please join us. For those who are here outside, Gimme is putting together, as we speak, our outdoor oneg, so it's really nice outside. And heard we have some new foods or desserts on tap, because Alex asked me this morning, Rabbi, should we get some new and different foods for oneg? And I said, why not? So there you go. So let my people go. You'll find it on the 3 slides. If you want to look in the prayer book, you'll find these words on 361. You can only do this song about 2 times a year, once during Passover, and the second time is this particular week where we hear time and again, let my people go. When Israel was in Egypt's land, let my people go. Oppressed so hard they could not stand, let my people go. Go down, Moses, way down in Egypt's land. Tell old Pharaoh to let my people go. Thus said the Lord, bold Moses said, let my people go. If not, I'll smite your firstborn dead. Let my people go. Go down, Moses, way down in Egypt's land. Tell old Pharaoh to let my people go. No more shall they in bondage toil. Let my people go. Let them come out with Egypt's spoil. Let my people go. Go down, Moses, way down in Egypt's land. Tell old Pharaoh, let my people go. And we'll conclude, as we've been doing, with a prayer for our own health and the health of those around us, and the importance of, especially now, wearing masks when we're out and about. You'll find the prayer for this sacred obligation, this mitzvah, right on the screen. Please join me. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kichanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu al shmirat hanefesh, for the mitzvah and sacred obligation to protect our lives and those around us. Shabbat shalom to all of you. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you for all those who are tuning in from back home. Until next Friday. Shabbat shalom.